My brother removed me from the family anniversary trip. Then the red binder reached the front desk. "Don't embarrass yourself by showing up at the airport, Claire." My brother said it over pot roast, as if he were asking me to pass the salt. The dining room at my parents' house in Richmond smelled like lemon furniture polish, overcooked onions, and the faint electrical heat from the old baseboard vent beneath the window. Rain tapped against the glass in thin, nervous fingers, and every plate on the table seemed louder than usual. Every fork scraped sharp enough to draw blood. My mother kept smoothing the linen napkin in her lap. My father kept cutting meat he was not eating, and my younger sister stared at her phone with the devotion of a person hoping a screen could make her invisible. Nobody corrected him. My name is Claire Whitaker. I was 36 years old, a forensic claims auditor for a maritime insurance firm in Baltimore, and for 11 months, I had taken every unpleasant assignment nobody else wanted. I had crawled through flooded warehouse basements in January, reviewed cargo loss reports until 2 in the morning, and spent weekends reconciling invoices from storms, fires, collisions, and fraud claims, so I could pay for one quiet family anniversary trip to the Florida Keys. 6 round-trip flights, 8 nights at a private waterfront house in Islamorada, 2 rental vehicles, a sunset dinner cruise for my parents' 40th wedding anniversary, restaurant deposits, reef tour reservations, a photographer my sister insisted would make the family look timeless. Every charge had gone through my card, every confirmation email had landed in my inbox, and the people sitting around that table had decided the trip would be better without me. My older brother Ethan leaned back in his chair with the soft smile of a man who had rehearsed cruelty in the mirror and found himself handsome doing it. He wore a navy cashmere sweater he could not afford, a watch he called an investment, and the satisfied expression of someone who believed the verdict had already been signed. My mother, Helen, would not meet my eyes. My father, Richard, set his fork down and said, "It's just not your place this time." That was the moment the room became perfectly still. I looked at the 5 of them: Ethan, my parents, my sister Brooke, and Brooke's fiancé Tyler, who had not paid for a single appetizer but had somehow already chosen the best bedroom in the rental house. They waited for the version of me they knew, the useful version, the apologetic version, the woman who solved problems so efficiently that everyone eventually forgot she was a person and began treating her like an appliance. So, I raised my glass of Cabernet and said, "Understood." Ethan smiled wider. He thought he had won. He did not know the waterfront house required the primary guest to appear in person with matching identification and the original payment card. He did not know the flights were tied to my rewards profile, my billing address, and the authorization code from my bank. He did not know that 3 weeks earlier, when his own credit application was declined for insufficient available credit, he had asked me to place the entire itinerary under my name, just for convenience. He had forgotten I read contracts for a living. The trip had started as a kindness. My mother mentioned in July that she and my father had never taken a real anniversary vacation. Not a weekend at a lake, not a motel on the way to visit relatives, but an actual trip where someone else cooked, drove, planned, and worried. She said it while standing in my kitchen, holding a mug of coffee with both hands. And for a few minutes, she looked smaller than I remembered. I offered to cover the house and flights. Everyone else would handle meals, souvenirs, and whatever personal extras they wanted. That was the agreement. Then Ethan got involved. Ethan Whitaker, golden child, former real estate agent, current founder of a luxury lifestyle channel that had 18,742 followers, and the confidence of a media empire. He sent links to villas with infinity pools, private docks, chef kitchens, and white sofas no actual human family should be trusted near. When I selected a comfortable rental at $7,900, he called it a motel with better lighting. When I pushed back, my mother said Ethan needed this content opportunity because a boutique luggage brand was watching his channel. The upgrade cost $6,480 more. Then Brooke wanted a professional photographer because she and Tyler might announce their engagement formally. My father wanted a second vehicle so he would not be trapped by anyone's schedule. My mother wanted a ground floor bedroom because of her knees. Ethan wanted drone shots, a private boat excursion, and a dinner cruise because, Anniversary content performs well with older demographics. I accommodated almost all of it. By October 17th, the trip had cost me $31,274.18. At the dinner table in November, the ambush began with place settings. There were 6 regular chairs around the oval table and 1 folding chair near the radiator. Mine. My mother had served me on a smaller plate, the kind she kept for children eating dessert on holidays. I noticed all of it because people who audit for a living notice changes before they notice explanations. Halfway through dinner, Brooke tilted her phone toward Tyler and whispered about the airport reveal shot. I heard my name absent from the plan. "Is there a separate group chat for the trip?" I asked. Ethan dabbed the corner of his mouth. "We were going to talk to you tonight." "About what?" My mother inhaled softly. My father stared at the rain. Brooke locked her phone and placed it face down beside her wine glass. Ethan said, "We think you staying home would be healthier for everyone." I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because the sentence had been polished by committee. "The trip I paid for?" He sighed, performing patience. "You paid because you offered. That doesn't mean you get to control the emotional environment." Brooke nodded too quickly. "You've been tense. You make everything feel like a schedule." That was impressive coming from a woman who had requested a color-coded packing list, sunscreen recommendations, ferry alternatives, restaurant dress codes, tide times, and a backup plan in case Tyler's hair reacted badly to humidity. I turned to my parents. "You knew!" My mother finally looked up. "Your brother has worked very hard for this opportunity." "I paid for his opportunity." "Claire," she said, as if my name were a napkin she could fold smaller. "A gift shouldn't come with conditions." My father added, "Your personality can be intense. We want a peaceful anniversary." There it was. They did not want me removed from the cost. They wanted me removed from the frame. Ethan needed the image of a successful son, giving his parents a beautiful anniversary trip. Brooke needed the house and the photographer for her engagement fantasy. My parents needed to believe the child they favored had become the child who could provide. My presence would make the story harder to sell, so they edited me out. At the door, Ethan called after me. "Keep your phone on the morning we travel. There might be check-in stuff." I looked back at him. "There might." He did not hear the difference. I did not cancel anything that night. Anger makes sloppy accountants, and I had never survived fraud investigations by moving quickly when moving carefully would do more damage. I drove back to Baltimore with rain hissing under my tires and the smell of cold coffee in the console cup holder. My hands stayed loose on the wheel. My chest felt hollow and bright, like a room after all the furniture has been removed. At 10:38 p.m., I opened my laptop at my kitchen table. The apartment was quiet except for the refrigerator cycling on and the little click of the clock above the stove. I made a pot of coffee I did not need, pulled my hair into a knot, and opened every contract, invoice, receipt, confirmation page, and terms of service document connected to the trip. Then I took out the red binder. The red binder was not dramatic. It was a 3-inch office binder from Staples, with a cracked plastic sleeve on the front and tab dividers labeled in black ink. I used it at work for contested claims when someone believed a lie loudly enough to confuse a room. Paper changes the temperature. Screens can be ignored, forwarded, deleted, or blamed on glitches. Paper sits on a table and waits. I began printing. Flights. Purchased through my account. Refundable as credits to the purchaser. Waterfront house. Primary guest required at check-in. No substitutions within 7 days without written approval and matching payment verification. Rental vehicles, both in my name. Dinner cruise, cancelable with a $400 penalty. Reef tour, transferable to a nonprofit group with 48 hours notice. Photographer, non-refundable deposit, but the remaining balance due on arrival by the booking party. They did not own a vacation. They owned screenshots. At 11:16 p.m., Ethan texted, "Send all confirmation numbers by Friday. Also, don't freeze your card because the house may need it for incidentals." No apology, no explanation, Not even the decency of pretending they had considered my feelings after stripping my name out of the family story. I took a screenshot and placed it behind tab 3. Then I logged into the airline portal. My thumb hovered over the first cancellation button longer than I expected. Families are rarely cruel every day. That is what makes it hard. I remembered Ethan driving 3 hours when my car died during a snowstorm in 2011. I remembered Brooke sleeping on my couch after a breakup and crying into one of my sweatshirts. I remembered my father teaching me to change a tire. I remembered my mother sitting in a hospital chair after my appendix burst, reading grocery coupons aloud because neither of us knew what else to say. Good memories can become chains when you use them to excuse present contempt. I canceled my father's ticket first, then my mother's, then Brooke's, then Tyler's, then Ethan's. Before confirming Ethan's cancellation, I noticed something odd. His traveler profile included a loyalty number I did not recognize and a business email linked to Whitaker Coastal Media, LLC. I had never added that. I copied it into my notes. Then I moved to the house rental. The cancellation penalty was ugly. I recovered 55% and lost $4,185. Still, that loss was cleaner than letting 5 people occupy a house under my name while resenting my existence. I canceled the rental vehicles. I transferred the reef tour to a charity that arranged coastal outings for children of injured dock workers. I gave the dinner cruise reservation to my supervisor, whose parents happened to be visiting from Oregon that same week. By 1:03 a.m., the family anniversary trip no longer existed. At 1:11, I called my best friend, Mara Ellis. Mara was a structural engineer who treated emotional disasters like bridge failures. Identify the load, find the crack, close the road before collapse. She answered with, "Somebody better be in custody." "Not yet," I said. There was a pause. "That is an alarming opener." I told her everything. When I finished, Mara said, "Good! Now book something for yourself before you confuse grief with generosity." By 2:04 a.m., we had 2 flights to Savannah for the same morning my family had planned to fly to Miami. Not the Keys, not the house, not their anniversary stage. A small inn near Forsyth Park, 2 queen beds, no family itinerary, no matching linen outfits, no drone footage, no one asking me to prove my love by paying for my own exclusion. The next morning, my mother called at 8:12. I let it go to voicemail. "Claire, honey, Ethan says you still haven't sent the house codes. Please don't punish everyone because we agreed this arrangement would be easier. Your father is very upset." Brooke texted at 8:27. "Can you forward the photographer agreement? Tyler needs to review the balance." I replied, "Ethan said he was handling the trip." She answered, "He is, but everything went to you." I wrote, "That sounds like an operational flaw." For the next 4 days, the family chat continued as if reality were a temporary inconvenience. My mother asked about restaurant confirmations. My father asked whether the second rental vehicle had a toll pass. Brooke asked if the house had full-length mirrors. Ethan asked, twice, for the Wi-Fi network because he wanted to prepare upload settings before arrival. Nobody asked whether I was okay. 3 days before departure, Ethan called from a blocked number. I answered because I wanted the recording. "You're being childish," he said. The background noise sounded like a coffee shop. Espresso steam, low music, a chair dragging across tile. "I thought I wasn't part of the trip," I said. "You're not. That doesn't mean you get to sabotage Mom and Dad." "Who paid for the flights?" "You offered. And you rejected my presents." He exhaled hard. "This is exactly what I mean. Everything becomes about you. I have a sponsor expecting footage. Mom and Dad deserve this. Brooke and Tyler already scheduled their announcement. You can sit at home and sulk, or you can be decent for once." "For once," I repeated. "You'll send the information," he said. "You always do." He was right about who I had been. He was wrong about who answered the phone. On departure morning, Mara and I arrived at Baltimore Washington International at 5:05 a.m. The terminal smelled like burnt bagels, floor wax, and the metallic breath of too many tired people moving under fluorescent lights. Our Savannah flight boarded from Concourse C 47 minutes after my family's Miami flight. I did not plan to confront them. I wanted only to confirm when the truth became too heavy for screenshots to carry. At 5:38, Brooke texted, "Kiosk says reservation not found." At 5:39, my mother called. At 5:40, my father called. At 5:41, Ethan called 3 times in a row. Mara returned with 2 coffees, looked at my screen and said, "Impact confirmed." At 5:46, Ethan texted, "Fix this now." I replied, "I removed myself and my funds from the trip as requested." The response came fast. "You had no right." I stared at the sentence for a long time. It was the purest thing he had ever written. Not, "How could you?" Not, "Please." Not, "I'm sorry." Just the old family constitution in 4 words. My labor belonged to them. My money belonged to them. My right to attend was negotiable, but their access was not. My mother's voicemail arrived at 5:52. She was crying. "Claire, we are standing here with luggage and your father is humiliated. Whatever happened at dinner, you need to fix this. Please do not do this in public." That was the family rule. Harm could happen in private. Consequences must never become visible. At 6:07, I saw them. They were near the airline service counter. My mother wore the white linen jacket she had bought for the family airport picture. My father looked lost, one hand on his suitcase handle, the other pressed against his forehead. Brooke's mouth was moving rapidly, while Tyler stared at the ceiling like he was trying to leave his body. Ethan stood at the counter, leaning toward an agent whose professional smile had gone flat. He slapped a printed itinerary on the counter. I could not hear every word, but I heard enough. "My sister is unstable," he said. "She canceled this without authorization." Mara looked at me. "Still want to stay quiet?" I took the red binder from my carry-on. "No," I said. "Now he has made it a record issue." I walked toward them slowly, the way I walk into a conference room when opposing counsel thinks volume can replace documentation. Ethan saw me first. His face changed from fury to relief so quickly it almost made me sad. "Finally," he snapped. "Tell her to reinstate the tickets." The airline agent looked at me. Her name tag read Denise. She looked exhausted in the specific way airport employees look exhausted before sunrise. I set the binder on the counter. "Good morning," I said. "I'm the purchaser and account holder. I canceled the reservations tied to my payment method after these travelers informed me in writing and in person that I was not invited on the trip. I have the cancellation confirmations, original receipts, and relevant messages." Ethan laughed once. "She's doing a performance." Denise looked at the binder. "Ma'am, are you requesting any reinstatement?" "No. I'm confirming that no one here has permission to use my card, my rewards account, my identification, or any reservation made in my name." The counter went quiet. Not just our counter. The couple behind my parents stopped arguing about seat assignments. A child stopped rolling a blue suitcase into his mother's ankle. Even the printer behind Denise seemed suddenly too loud. Ethan lowered his voice. "Claire, don't be insane." I opened tab 2 and slid forward the house rental clause, requiring the primary guest and original payment card at check-in. Then tab 4, the text where he told me not to freeze my card. Then tab 5, the cancellation confirmations. Paper after paper. Calm, dated, numbered. My father whispered, "You brought a binder?" "Yes," I said. "I thought there might be check-in stuff." Mara coughed into her coffee. Ethan's face reddened. "This is family business." Denise's expression changed at that. People who work counters hear many versions of entitlement, but they also understand documentation. She handed the papers back to me and said, "The canceled reservations cannot be used by anyone here. Any new travel would need to be purchased separately." "With what?" Brooke blurted. Nobody answered. Then Ethan made his second mistake. He pulled out a credit card. Not his usual black metal card, the one he liked to tap loudly at restaurants. This one was blue and white, with my old apartment address printed on the statement he unfolded beside it. I recognized the bank logo. I recognized the last 4 digits from a fraud alert I had dismissed the week before because I thought it was a merchant verification error. I felt my body go very still. "Use this," Ethan told Denise. I looked at the card, then at him. "Where did you get that?" He froze for half a second. Only half. But half a second is long enough when you audit lies for a living. "It's a business card," he said. "In whose name?" "Claire," my mother said softly. "Not here." Not here. The 2 words told me she knew. I reached for my phone, opened my banking app, and searched the card issuer. There it was. A secondary business credit line opened under a variation of my name, using my social security number, my previous address in Baltimore, and Ethan's LLC as the business alias. Approved 6 weeks earlier. Current balance, $8,914.62. Charges, camera equipment, luggage, a drone, paid follower promotion, 3 restaurant deposits, and a brand strategy retreat at a hotel in Annapolis. The air smelled suddenly sharper, like printer toner and panic. I turned to Denise. "Please do not process that card. I believe it was opened using my personal information without authorization." Ethan hissed, "Shut up." My father finally looked at him. "Ethan?" But Ethan was past caution now. She knew. She helps me with business paperwork all the time. "I reviewed 1 lease in March," I said. "I did not authorize you to open credit in my name." Brooke covered her mouth. Tyler took 1 step away from her, as if fraud might splash. Denise called a supervisor. Within 8 minutes, airport police arrived. Not sirens, not drama, just 2 officers in dark uniforms, radios murmuring at their shoulders, asking questions in voices that made everyone else lower theirs. I did not accuse Ethan loudly. I did not call him names. I handed over copies. The texts, the account screenshot, the card, the old address, the business email linked to his traveler profile. The red binder did what shouting never could. It made denial look tired. Ethan kept saying it was a family misunderstanding. My mother kept saying I had always helped him, and maybe he thought permission was implied. My father stood silent, and for the first time in my life, I watched him realize that silence had not kept peace. It had protected rot. The officers did not arrest Ethan at the counter. That would come later, after the bank opened a formal investigation and the lender discovered 2 applications connected to my personal information. But they took a report. They took the card. They took his explanation, which changed 3 times in 11 minutes. Our Savannah flight began boarding at 6:44. Mara touched my elbow. "We should go." My mother grabbed my sleeve. "Claire, please. Your father's anniversary." I looked down at her hand until she released me. "You removed me from the family trip," I said. "I removed my finances from the itinerary. Ethan removed the law from his decision-making. Those are separate problems." My father said my name once. I did not turn around. Savannah was warm when we landed. The air smelled like river mud, magnolia, diesel from tour buses, and powdered sugar from a bakery near the square. For 3 days, Mara and I walked under live oaks, ate too much shrimp, and let the city be beautiful without asking it to prove anything. I slept 9 hours the first night. I had not done that in months, but consequences travel faster than airplanes. By Sunday evening, Ethan had posted a video from his car accusing me of sabotaging our parents' anniversary because I was jealous of his success. He said I used money as a weapon. He said I had a history of controlling behavior. He said he was taking the high road while looking directly into the camera for 9 minutes and 22 seconds. He forgot reflections. In the passenger window behind him, for less than 2 seconds, the blue and white disputed card lay on the console beside a printed police report number. Mara caught it before he deleted the video. Tab 9. On Monday morning, I called my bank's fraud department. Then I called an attorney named Rebecca Sloan, a former prosecutor who now handled financial abuse and identity theft cases. Her office smelled like black coffee, paper, and the peppermint candies she kept in a glass bowl near the copier. The carpet was industrial gray. The conference table had one small scratch near my chair, shaped like a lightning bolt. I noticed details because details had saved me. Rebecca listened without interrupting. When I finished, she tapped the stack of documents once with her pen. "This is not a family fight," she said. "This is identity theft, wire activity, and possible bank fraud. The family part is just the wrapping paper." There it was. The federal hammer did not fall all at once. It never does. It starts with polite letters, account freezes, compliance reviews, requests for statements, and people who thought consequences were emotional discovering that consequences also have case numbers. The bank froze the card. The lender flagged the application. Ethan's luggage sponsor paused his contract within 48 hours after receiving notice that content associated with the trip was involved in a financial dispute. His brand manager, a woman named Kelsey, who had once emailed me asking for behind-the-scenes family authenticity, suddenly wanted written confirmation that Ethan had funded the trip himself. I sent nothing to her. Rebecca did. She sent one letter with 3 attachments: the original receipts, Ethan's text requesting confirmation numbers, and the airport report number. No adjectives, no insults, no emotional language, just the architecture of what happened. By Wednesday, the sponsor terminated the agreement. Ethan called me 46 times. I answered none. My mother left voicemails about forgiveness, family, and how stress can make good people make poor choices. My father sent one text: "We need to talk." Brooke sent 17 messages, starting with outrage and ending with whether I could at least reimburse the photographer deposit because the engagement announcement was collateral damage. I sent all communication to Rebecca. 2 weeks later, we met in a private mediation room at Rebecca's office because my father begged for one conversation before the investigation moved further. The room smelled like copier heat and raincoats drying on hooks. A small clock on the wall ticked too loudly. Ethan arrived 12 minutes late, wearing sunglasses indoors, which told me everything about his commitment to remorse. My parents sat on one side of the table. Brooke sat beside them, with Tyler nowhere in sight. Ethan remained standing until Rebecca said, "Sit down, Mr. Whitaker. This is not a stage." He sat. I placed the red binder on the table. Ethan stared at it like it had teeth. Rebecca began with the facts. Not feelings, facts. $31,274.18 in trip expenses. 5 family members excluding the paying party. Written messages requesting access to reservations and payment methods after exclusion. A business credit card opened using my personal identifying information. $8,914.62 in charges. 2 additional financing inquiries connected to Ethan's LLC. 1 airport incident report. 1 sponsor termination. 1 pending fraud investigation. My mother cried silently into a tissue. My father looked at his hands. Ethan said, "I never meant to hurt anyone." Rebecca looked up. "That is not the same as authorization." He shifted. "Claire has always handled things for the family." "That is not authorization either." Brooke spoke then, her voice thin. "You could have warned us." I turned to her. "At dinner, you removed me from the trip but kept my money in the plan. What warning did you need?" She looked away. My father said, "We thought once you calmed down, you would still want your mother to have the anniversary." The clock ticked 3 times before I answered. "You thought my love could be separated from my dignity." Nobody spoke. Rebecca slid a settlement proposal across the table. Ethan would repay the disputed charges, sign a statement acknowledging he had opened and used credit without my authorization, withdraw all applications containing my information, remove all public accusations, and complete a financial ethics program required by the lender if they offered diversion instead of referral. My parents would sign statements confirming they had been aware I was excluded from the trip before requesting further access to reservations paid by me. Ethan refused. He laughed, actually laughed, and said, "You want me to destroy my reputation because Claire got her feelings hurt?" Years earlier, that sentence would have cut me open. This time, it sounded like evidence. I opened tab 11. It contained a printed email Ethan had sent to the luggage sponsor 2 weeks before the dinner. I found it because he had forwarded me the wrong attachment while asking me to proofread a caption. The subject line read, "Family Anniversary Sponsorship, Full Host Control Confirmed." In the email, Ethan wrote that he had secured exclusive creative direction over a family anniversary vacation he was personally funding as a surprise gift. He promised no off-brand relatives would appear in key shots. He wrote that one family member had a difficult personality and would not be included in branded scenes. My mother whispered, "Ethan." I slid the page across the table. "You did not exclude me because I was tense," I said. "You excluded me because I was bad for your lie." His face emptied. That was the first honest thing he did. The fallout took months. Ethan's sponsor was gone. His LLC credit line closed. The bank required repayment and referred the identity theft portion to investigators. Because he cooperated after his attorney got involved, and because I agreed not to push for the harshest possible path if restitution was made, he avoided prison. He did not avoid consequences. He sold the drone, 2 cameras, 3 lenses, and the watch he called an investment. He took a job managing social media for a regional plumbing company outside Fredericksburg. His luxury travel channel became a place where strangers commented under old videos, asking whether his sister had paid for that too. Brooke and Tyler postponed their engagement announcement. Tyler eventually ended the relationship, not because of me, but because he learned Brooke had expected him to help reimburse a photographer for a proposal trip funded by a sister she had helped exclude. My mother stopped telling church friends about her perfect anniversary children. My father stopped sending me forms to review. For a while, they treated my silence as a tantrum. It was not. It was maintenance. I removed my card from my parents' utility accounts. I separated Brooke's phone line from my family plan. I changed passwords, updated beneficiaries, replaced my emergency contact, froze my credit, and put alerts on every account connected to my name. I declined to review Ethan's paperwork. I declined to manage my parents' insurance renewal. I declined to be useful where I was not respected. My mother said I was tearing the family apart. I told her the family had been operating on unauthorized withdrawals for years. 6 months later, my father asked to meet me at a coffee shop near Annapolis. It was raining again, a softer rain than the night of the dinner. The place smelled like espresso, wet wool, and cinnamon. He looked older, or maybe I had stopped editing him into the version I needed. He placed a handwritten letter on the table. In it, he admitted he had supported Ethan because he wanted to believe his son was successful. He admitted he knew I was paying. He admitted he expected me to continue because I had always continued. One sentence mattered more than the rest. I treated your reliability as permission to disregard you. I read it twice. Then I folded the letter and said, "That is the first true thing anyone has said to me." He cried quietly. I did not comfort him immediately. That may sound cruel to people who confuse accountability with punishment, but I had spent too many years managing other people's discomfort after they created mine. Eventually, I told him trust could return only through changed behavior, not emotional speeches. He nodded. For once, he did not ask me to make the repair easier. My mother took longer. Her apology arrived in pieces, each one wrapped in explanations. She had been afraid Ethan would fail. She had been afraid Brooke would resent her. She had been afraid my father's anniversary would be ruined. I wrote back once, "Fear can explain a choice. It does not excuse it." Ethan never apologized directly. His attorney sent a statement acknowledging unauthorized use of personal information and repayment of settled charges. It was cold, legal, and empty. It was also enough. I did not need him to become better in order for me to become free. A year after the trip that never happened, I went to the Florida Keys alone. Not the waterfront house, not the itinerary, Not the places Ethan wanted to film. I stayed at a modest inn with peeling blue shutters and a balcony that faced a narrow strip of water where pelicans dropped like stones at sunset. The room smelled faintly of salt, sunscreen, and old wood. The air conditioner rattled every 12 minutes like a machine clearing its throat. It was perfect. On my second evening, I booked a table for one at a small restaurant near the marina. The hostess asked, "Will anyone be joining you?" "No," I said. "This seat is mine." The word surprised me by making me smile. For years, I thought belonging was something my family could grant or revoke. They could invite me, use me, praise me, exclude me, or reduce me to the person who paid invoices and solved emergencies. I thought if I stayed useful enough, generous enough, quiet enough, they would eventually remember to love me properly. But love that requires you to purchase your own place at the table is not love. It is rent. When the sun dropped behind the marina, the water turned copper and black. Somewhere behind me, silverware chimed against plates. A boat engine coughed awake, then faded toward open water. I raised my glass the same way I had raised it in my parents' dining room on the night Ethan told me not to show up. This time, I was not swallowing humiliation. I was toasting the quiet after the audit. Saying no did not cost me my family. It revealed who had been billing me for belonging all along.